3 rounds of discussion with a 20-minute time limit. Introducing first from a Zoom call in Columbia, South Carolina, Matthew, aka the Unbreakable Spirit. And his opponent from a Zoom call in Atlanta, Georgia, Daniel, aka the Executioner. Take it away, Matthew.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 28. I'm pretty sure I have the number right. Of At Odds with the Unbreakable Spirit.
And the Executioner, Daniel Trevor. Sup, losers?
Yep, and man, do we have an episode for you today. I sort of hinted at the first topic last week, but we're going to run through them anyways. That's your cue.
Hello.
Aren't you going to say topic one?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, we got topic one.
Yes, topic one. WWE didn't tell NXT Creative about the releases.
Topic number 2.
MJF has been called the next Rock on the microphone.
Topic number 3.
You'd think it'd be the prediction battle, but as we discussed last week, not exactly. So instead, we're going to talk about The Miz giving massive props to Logan Paul for his heel work. Anyways, with those out of the way, let's start with topic 1.
Yes.
Take it away, comrade.
Okay, alright, remind me, what's the first topic?
WWE didn't tell NXT Creative about the releases.
Well, if you ask me, that is really, really stupid.
Yes, it is.
And here's my long reason, because if you guys are a part of a wrestling company and the creative team is in charge of storylines, if you guys release 2 people, like I said last week, in the middle of a massive
Just remember some indie stream. Sorry, take away my throat.
in the middle of a massive storyline or a small storyline or any goddamn storyline, it just ruins the point of said storyline. It could probably...
Yeah, because it doesn't have an ending. How can you fluidly move into another storyline without ending the original one? And it's not like they can have Indy on the phone talking to Dexter because he's no longer a part of the company.
I mean, Dexter barely talks anyway, so...
Yeah, but you really think you won't talk to his quote-unquote wife?
Alright, I mean, I'm gonna do this here. I mean, I don't really care, but anyway, I think it's honestly kind of more stupid considering that anyone that is just me, even if this is just the main roster storylines, that it hurts. I mean, I know because this hurts, just NXT stuff, because how would you feel, Matthew, if you and I were in the middle of a feud and they released me and they didn't tell you or creative? Or they released
you would tell me anyways, dude. You call me literally every day.
Yeah, people don't need to know that. But,
dude, they already know that. I've mentioned that on the podcast before.
I mean, or it's like you're in that feud with what are your thoughts?
I will say, as someone that writes stories for fun, I have so many unfinished projects that I really just need to settle on one and write it till its completion. And when I don't have that, the completion principle in my brain is just firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, because if you're writing a story, it's like, guys, let me put this to you in a term you can understand. It's like if you're writing a movie or an episode of a of a big TV show, and some of the people of the cast or movie or TV show got fired, and you were starting to write like a new season of a TV show that what would
Actually,
you
I have a real life example that we can use that hasn't happened, but people want.
I go
Amber
ahead.
Heard in Aquaman 2. People are clamoring for her to be recasted.
Yeah. But yeah, because I will say that like if if you just release people for no reason and you're in the middle of like a major program or in the middle of like filming a movie or a production of a TV show or anything, and like some major people get released, what is you can't just like you're gonna have to like rewrite the entire script.
Yeah, and that's not fun.
No, I'd be like, guys, here's another example. What if, like, I don't know, what if you guys are watching like a TV show and let's say Batman had a TV show. I know this is a wrestling podcast, but this is the best example.
I mean, we can just use DC's Legends of Tomorrow and Batwoman since they got canceled.
Okay, fuck you. Let's use that. All right. Let's say, or Black Lightning, for example.
Yeah, a show that got cut way too short, mind you. That was a great show.
Yeah. Here's an example. Let's say you finished up an entire storyline. You got this long shit planned out, and then something happens to a cast member that you're like, shit, what do I do?
Yeah.
Or like Batwoman. You have shit planned out, and like, okay, take what happened with season 1 of Batwoman, for example.
Yeah, Ruby left the show and they had to create an entirely new character just for the show.
Yeah. And then because in that season but then the main villain was more no, the side story was more interesting than the main plot.
Yeah.
But like Legends, which I will admit I need to finish because I'm curious now of how the show ended.
Probably with a cliffhanger leading to a potential another season that's never going to be seen. Because that's how all Arrowverse shows end. Except for Arrow, because Oliver died.
All right, yeah, and then it honestly sucks for the creative team because now they're gonna have to rewrite some of the stuff.
Or they're gonna have to start up a new storyline for the people from the line that are left over that will feel inorganic because the other one is incomplete.
Yeah, all right, let's take a quick break.
Yeah, let's take a quick break before we move on to topic 2.
That'll work.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut me saying out. Anyways, people, we're back for topic 2, which is MJF being called the next Rock on the microphone.
I mean,
And let me say, that is some high praise, but also I feel like it's only MJF calling himself that.
I mean, I gotta say this. MJF, for the kind of work that he does as a heel, he is very, he's very good on the microphone. Very,
Yeah.
very good.
But saying he's the next Rock?
I mean, once because anyway, I think that him being compared to the next Rock, just me, that is a very, very high compliment. And with how good MJF is on the mic without a script, that is some very good praise.
Yeah, and the praise actually came from a WWE Hall of Famer, who goes by the name, at least on the Indies, of Bully Ray, who WWE fans know as Bubba Ray Dudley.
Hey, if there's anyone that would know how to get that would have high praise, considering how good he was considering how good it was that it was his idea for aces and eights, and to get everyone to hate him. That's a hell of a compliment, if you ask me.
Yeah. I still think it's a bit of a stretch because he also thought, like, Hook also had a potential to be the next Rock. A guy who's only spoken, like, what, once?
Twice,
whatever. Anyways, I have the article pulled up with Bully Ray's quote if you want me to read it.
Go ahead.
The quote, and I quote, "I was going back and forth between two. Hook was one of them. I don't know if you guys are really going to consider this a sleeper pick, but I'm going with him. It's MJF. Is MJF really considered to be a sleeper pick? I don't know, but he's a younger talent when you say sleeper. I equate it to younger. So I was like, Hook, Austin, Theory, MJF. MJF is the guy for. And I lost my place. The guy for me, a younger talent who we all know the sky's the limit is the absolute limit. Who knows what MJF is capable of?
Now hearing that, he has a point.
Yeah, MJF, I will admit, from what I've seen of him in AEW, is a phenomenal talent. But I still don't think that comparing newer talent to legends is fair.
Why do you say that? Dolph Ziggler gets compared to Shawn Michaels all the time.
Well, that's because they're both egotistical, or at least their characters are.
Well, Shawn was at one point.
Apparently. That's why I said their characters are.
No, Shawn was that in real life at one point.
Yeah, probably during the 80s or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's also when Shawn didn't necessarily do good things for his body.
Yeah, because I will say, MJF is a phenomenal heel. I feel, if you ask me, that MJF is probably one of the best heels nowadays in professional wrestling, because he is very, very, very good at getting people to want to punch you in the face. Because
for the record, I'm going to take this as your final thoughts. We got 5 seconds left.
Okay, because according to an old WWE or an old wrestling legend, it says if they're paying money to watch you, then if they're paying money, to watch you than they really want. If people really want to punch you in the face, then you're doing your job right.
Yeah. And I will say, look, as long as MJF doesn't start referring to himself in the third person, I don't see him as the next Rock, and I don't think anyone will come close to being the next Rock, except for his daughter Simone.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Alright, we're gonna take a quick break before the final topic, which I have another quote for. We'll be right back.
Alrighty then. Hello everyone, and we are back with topic number 3.
Which is The Miz giving massive props to Logan Paul for his heel work.
I mean, because I read the article, Miz said, and I quote, that anyone that can get more heat than me, I have massive props to, especially if you can get people to, because I am aware that I have a very punchable face for the past 20 years, but if you can get people to boo me in Cleveland, you're definitely doing something right.
Yeah, the exact words were, because I copied the quote from the article, were, and I quote, anyone that can get in the ring and be more hated than me, I applaud, because that's extremely difficult to do. I really do have a punchable face.
Yeah,
I know I
I
have a punchable. I have used it for 20 years in WWE and will continue to do so. But he walks into the ring and is just, even in Cleveland, I was like, we're in our hometown. You don't get booed in your hometown. We do. But God, has Miz really been in WWE for 20 years?
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yeah. The Miz was in WWE back. Hang on. I'll look it up. I'll look it up later. Let's see.
I remember his first role was Diva Search host. That's where he met Maurice.
Yeah. But yeah. Yeah. 2003.
Yeah, close enough. Anyways.
Anyway, if you can get more heel heat than Mike, that's like, I know we all hate Logan Paul, but come on.
I mean, we all hate the Paul brothers in general.
Yeah, but this is something I've heard, that isn't the point of people, because like I just said, if people are paying money to getting to punch you to wanting to really punch you in the face, aren't you doing your job?
Yeah.
I mean, because if you think about it, people want to see Logan Paul get his ass kicked in his boxing matches, and people hate him there. So it's like, hey, if people are hating you and they want you to punch you in the face, they'll tune in and you'll get more money.
Yeah. I mean, I always say, and I said this a lot when criticizing Brock Lesnar before this podcast even started, that the fans pay money to see the wrestlers. And that's why, for the longest time, I was a critic of the Beast Incarnate, because people would pay money thinking he was going to show up, and he would just sit on his couch watching this show with his wife Sable.
I mean, hey, people hate. I mean, because hey, this was back then when Brock returned in 2012, and he was, and he was getting people to boo him out of the, was getting people to hey, no disrespect to Brock Lesnar here, but look, I need to be the guy to say this here. Well, Brock is a hell of an athlete. If people are booing him for not showing up, then he's doing his job.
Yeah.
And then, because this is something that I know I'm drilling this point home, but the point of you being a heel is so people want to come and punch you in the face.
Might I say you also have a punchable face?
Thank you.
Don't worry, you know I'm more of a pacifist than a fighter.
Are you a pacifist or are you a pacifist?
Not through your face.
Because I will say is that whoever, look, I hate Logan Paul, but he's doing his job. Because like I said, if people are hating you, then you're doing something. But if people hate you more than the guy you're teaming with,
and that guy happens to be Mike the Miz Mizanin,
who at one point in his career was one of the most hated, who was such hated in WWE that he got banished from the locker room for spilling some chicken crumbs on Chris Benoit's luggage.
as like a locker room prank or something?
No, by accident.
God damn. And for the record, we know Mike Mizanin is a really nice guy, IRL. But that doesn't mean he's a nice guy when he's the Miz.
No.
For his entire time in WWE, I feel like he's only been a face once.
Yeah. That really short time in 2011.
Yeah, when he had a mini feud with Dolph Ziggler. But we've been off topic, I feel like. Maybe.
Yeah. No, not really. When it comes
to talking about the Miz when this is supposed to be about him giving props to Logan.
I mean, I will say my thoughts are him giving props to Logan Paul. If you can be more hated than the Miz, then you're seriously doing your job right.
Yeah, so good job, Logan. But since the Miz sort of turned you babyface at WrestleMania, I guess the next time we'll see how good you are at being a babyface.
Which I have to say, I am kind of intrigued on that.
I can say from experience, it's easier said than done.
All right, fair enough.
But we're out of time because the timer went off. So any last thing to say?
Last thing is that Logan Paul, I gotta give Logan Paul props for hitting the Miz, but I will say that that no one has a more punchable face than the Miz, and quite honestly, I am surprised that the Miz has not led a heel faction.
What do you call the Miz Taraj?
Okay. Besides two random jobbers, heck, I don't know. If I were to, that's my thoughts. My final thoughts.
My thoughts are if Logan can get more hated than the Miz, no wonder Miz betrayed him at WrestleMania.
Ooh, what if that's the build up to their next match?
Well, I've said they're probably going to have a match at SummerSlam.
Yeah. But alrighty then.
Anyways, we're out of time for this week.
See you next time, losers.
Roll that outro.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to At Odds, hosted by the Unbreakable Spirit,
And the Executioner.
edited by the Unbreakable Spirit. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at MTS_life_0126.
You can follow me on Instagram at DanTravis21, and you can also follow me on the Twitter at DanTheExecutioner21.
And you can follow the podcast at Odds Podcast. We'll be back next week with more debates and discussion. But until then, the Executioner and the Unbreakable Spirit will still be at odds.
Thank you, losers.